What's up, everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video. So today I wanted to make another video of regarding the zombie decks. Specifically, a lot of players are asking, how do you play the Diva Zombie deck? What do you do? What are some tips or tricks? So I actually tried to record while playing live, and somehow or another my OBS messed up, and it's a little bit more challenging to do. I know a few YouTubers who kind of record their games as they're playing, and I find it challenging to really play at a high level doing that because you're talking and everything. It might be something I explore in the future, but right now I just played a match, just finished a match, and it's against Amaryllis Burn, which I'm not very familiar with, but it's very popular now because it actually got third place at Nationals. So this build here is my IRL, the California in-person RBET top 8 deck list with the triple legacy of Yada Garasu. I play all the zombie builds I play are typically just Diva Zombie with some variation of Speller Traps, take one or two different things out. The monster lineup's pretty consistent. I was playing Ill Blood for a while, but they all play very similar. Sideboard, it changes every tournament. And I had Skill Drain in this sideboard for the Frog matchup. I go back and forth with this card. So what I want to do is kind of just talk through the game really quick. Let me pull it up and see some things I could have done better, but really try to showcase how I play the deck and see if maybe you guys can learn a few things from that. So a lot of players play zombies in a way that is not appropriate in my opinion. I feel that people are trying too hard to OTK and do these crazy OTK lines where I think the deck thrives on playing slow and control style based game. I think it's better that way, and that's how I play the deck, and I've had a lot of success. I've topped multiple tournaments. I don't even really know how many I've topped at this point with the deck, and like I said, I've done a video similar to this. It's on my channel a few months ago. I'll see if I can link it, and or you could look through the channel and see, but it's been requested a lot. So let's kind of go through this and see what we can learn from this match. So I open up average. Okay. This is kind of cool little trick with Legacy because you can set them with the gores obviously, and then they don't really expect it. I'm going to, I guess I keep my opponent's hand there. I don't know any of this stuff, but it's always hindsight, and you get a lot of bias when people see your opponent's hand and they go, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, that's because I didn't know what they had. So here, the T set here, it's not clear as to what it could be. It could be just about anything. Maybe I will just kind of show the hand periodically, but this is kind of what I'm looking at here. It's very simple. So you don't know what they have. You can make one of two plays. You can either, well, maybe it's a few plays. You can summon Mystic Tomato and attack, but you're running into 3 back row. Probably not ideal because there's deep prison everywhere, so you don't want to be attacking with your recruiters anymore, goblin zombies, nothing like that, because you can't really afford to lose them to deep prison, especially where I only have Call of the Haunted. The other play is I could set double legacy and pass and try to bait them into maybe potential Ryko or potential MST or something on their turn. Or I could set double legacy and tomato, betting that could be maybe a pyramid turtle or something along those lines. So those are the options you have. I don't think any of them, the only one I think is bad is summoning tomato and attacking. The other two are probably fine. I think I choose to actually set the tomato here. Of course, MST in the end phase gets rid of one of the legacy. And let's see here. This could be anything. This could be a Shining Angel for all I know. It's Ryko, so now we know obviously it would have been ideal to just set double back row, double legacy here. But we lose Tomato, which isn't the end of the world because we have the Call of the Haunted, and we can still hope that they Kai us into the back row, and we could just chain it and then drop gore. So not an overall terrible position, but now we see a Titanium in the graveyard, a trade-in. I'm not sure if they're on maybe quick draw or what this is so far. So here we just decide to take the 200 damage. We're not going to do the whole legacy trick. Not worth it for the 1200 damage. So again, now we're kind of drawing the cards that we don't typically want to see early game, which can happen sometimes with zombies when you're playing the return, especially when you played burial. You're drawing burials, you're drawing returns, you're drawing Call of the Haunted. Those cards are not the most ideal early game. You kind of want to see them more mid to late game. Of course, we have a mind control here with no tuner, so we're in a little bit of a position. We could activate the legacy here and draw another card. But I also wanted to see if I can get some value out of this. I know they're playing Rykos. Possible they set a Ryko and then target this. It's possible that they MST'd. Possible they have Dust Tornadoes back here. Possible Caius play. And 1200 damage is not overly threatening, so I'm okay with just taking that for a few turns. So that's what we do here. We see if they commit. They don't. A lot of players are not that good. They might just commit into the field and give us a better Gores drop. So we're just going to take the damage here. And now we know that they are just going to swing. They're not going to do anything. So we have to kind of actually be a little bit more proactive here on this turn. Plague Spreader, we draw. Again, now we have a tuner play, but we don't really want to be synchroing with a Sanguine. That's not ideal. And we don't want to be making Armory Arm. Not ideal. Probably Bottomless or something back there. Book, Starlight Road. So here, we don't really care as much if this gets deprisoned at this point because we have the return anyway. So I think it's best to just summon the Plague, and we're going to attack, because now you're reading possible Sanguine tribute for Caius, banishing the Plague, and then we could Legacy and then drop the Gores, of course. But they actually chain Book and hit the back row, which is a 1-for-1 trade at that point, so we don't really care. They're milling more stuff here. So now I'm kind of getting the sense that this is not quick draw. So now it's definitely not quick draw when you see Hidden Armory, and they're searching Mark of the Rose. So they Mark of the Rose to the Plague to make a synchro play, which is great for them. Obviously, they get a free Catastor out of the deal. And we're okay with this too because we have Gores now. So we're going to drop Gores in this situation, obviously. And now we draw at least something to protect. So you have a couple choices you can do here, right? You can switch just the token and crash, but you don't gain any advantage doing that. You can switch just the Gores to attack, hoping that they don't have a back row, because then you get a +1 essentially. You get to keep your 2200 attack token and the Gores. If they are able to kill this with some type of battle trap, you now have to set the deprison, which is okay. You don't mind deprisoning the Catastor. But in terms of the way I play is I'm always looking for ways each turn that I can gain some advantage. How can I gain a +1 by doing a play? How can I make my opponent activate a card in response to something I don't care about, right? Those are some of the things that cross my mind. So right here, the best play in my opinion is let me get a +1. If this goes through, I +1. The Gores is on the board with a strong token, and my opponent now has to respond to this. So let's see if they have anything to stop it. They don't. We know that they have Call, they have Starlight Road, and Burial, of course, Foolish Burial. So they actually have a Black Rose play next turn. So we set Call, and we actually match them now because we're free to set back row because we don't have Gores in our hand anymore. So in this situation, they draw a charge. They hit the Amarillo, so now we know exactly what they're on. They Dandy. So they have a lot of good cards in their hand, as we know. They have a Debris. So right here, they could just Debris the board. And that's not the most ideal situation. I guess it's not much of a positive trade for them. But we're okay if they make Stardust Dragon because we have the Deprison. They're getting a bunch of tokens. They have a Call, and they get the Titanium. So we know they're getting a Titanial here when they do that. So now we're in a bad position. We can't Deprison because they're just going to pop the token and run over the Gores anyway. So we're kind of in a bad spot. Kind of drew a little bit slow early game, and the Reiko plays did not really work in our favor. We didn't get to really get any advantage off the legacies, and we drew the one real monster being the Mystic Tomato, which we just happened to set 2 and set a Mystic Tomato turn 1, and we just got punished for it. So here we have a couple plays. We can Call the Haunted and try to run over the Stardust. That's one option. We can also summon the Tomato, try to run over a token. So at this time, what I'm thinking is I need to clear all the tokens and make him... I want to use this Mind Control because this is the way I can get them to pop a monster on the field, but I don't want it to be a token. So we need to summon Tomato, we need to run over Stardust, and we need to get rid of this other token. And then my goal is to try to Mind Control the Lone Fire Blossom to make them tribute it off. And then I have the Deprison next turn to stop the play of the Titania running over the Gores. Granted, they don't have another plant. Okay. So currently they don't actually have another plant. So this is actually working. It makes sense of what I'm saying here. So I think we're going to go for that. Obviously, if this doesn't work, then we're kind of in a bad position, but we're going to lose anyway. So, this is kind of all or nothing play. So far so good. This is going exactly as planned. Now we can main phase 2 synchro into, we can go Brio, not ideal. We can go Goyo, which is probably the best play here that we have, and that's what we do. So what did they end up drawing? Oh, they drew a Debris Dragon. So Yeah, well, that happens sometimes. They actually summon the Lila. That's which I do think they charged for, if I remember correctly. So there was not a whole lot I could have done anyway. There was really no play that protects me here. I'm surprised they didn't actually go Debris Dragon into more tokens, but this is because this trap is not real, so that makes sense. So they get to run this over. And play got banished, so we had to make sure we do that. We draw the return that I stacked here. Not in a good position. Really unlikely we're going to win this game with Titanium on the board. It's just too strong. And at this point, that's game. They summon the Debris Dragon. They're going to have 4 plants on the board. They have an Amaryllis in circulation. There's no way we're winning that game. So, game 1, we probably could have done a couple things differently, but the opening play is very important in Edison. If you guys are new to Edison format, the first 1 or 2 turns really dictate the pace of the game. The Raikos, Hamsters, certain MSTs, Dust Shoot, all that stuff is really relevant early. And all it takes is an MST on a bottomless, and then they summon a Sirocco into Whirlwind, and you're like just losing the game, right? So unfortunately, our Mystic Tomato didn't live, and we didn't really get any advantage with the Legacies. I don't tend to just flip those cards over. I like to kind of hold them for a bit in this format and let people waste resources on them because they often do. But it didn't work out there. So we're going into game 2. We don't really have a particularly, I don't know if it's a good matchup, bad matchup against Burn. I don't really know how to play against a deck, but it's Burn. So it's one of those decks that can just do a little, they do a little bit of damage and they just burn you and you just can't really play. So let's see what happens here. I actually always side Smashing Ground because the card is just really, really good, and it's going to be really good against Titanials, which is why I put it in. Here we can set Pyramid Turtle or Mystic Tomato. With our hand here, I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference, because if we had, let's say, a Plague, then obviously you could set Pyramid Turtle for the Goblin Zombie. If you had Goblin Zombie in hand, then you could set either of them for a Plague Spreader Zombie. It doesn't really matter a whole lot here. So first turn, Titanial again, which the card is just so good. I think this deck plays 3, so I'm not surprised. They probably have one in their hand. Oh, they don't. Wow, they play 3 of them and they didn't draw one. So we search Mystic Tomato searches Goblin Zombie here, just because that's what else are we gonna get? If we get Gale, they're just gonna pop a token. You want to get the Goblin Zombie into circulation pretty quickly. We draw bottomless. So here I have a couple plays. Okay, you can just clear 2 tokens and smash, which is fine. The problem is if they summon Debris Dragon, you are going to then lose the Pyramid Turtle, and it turns into kind of a 1-for-1. Also, I like to kind of get the Pyramid Turtle off the field because it is a liability unless it gets destroyed, of course. So what I think I do here is I do crash. I take a little bit of damage, but we turn this into double Goblin Zombie, so this insulates us against the Black Rose play. And we do set bottomless. So again, I set bottomless with the hope that they do not Black Rose. I am also insulated in the sense that if they do Black Rose, all I lose is bottomless. Well, I'd be able to chain it anyway. And I would get 2 searches, which helps here because I have both a Tragodia, which I can discard a card for, and the Zombie Master. You don't have to crash there because Black Rose with the Pyramid Turtle and a Goblin Zombie on the board is still a 1-for-1. So my plays are always about advantage. That's what I think about when I play this game. What cards get me more cards and make my opponent waste cards? That's my goal, always. I'm not here to try to OTK in 1 turn. If I can, I do, but I want to just be able to grind out my opponent, and I felt that this is the best play at the time. So what is their hand looking like? They have Mark of the Rose. They do have a Dandy, and they have Amaryllis. So, and the reason why I'm worried about Black Rose is because Dandy's sitting in the graveyard. So let's see how this works here. So they actually... odd. They take the Goblin Zombie. Interesting. I'm not entirely sure why they do that. Okay, so it actually works out fine that we set bottomless here because the other option is they only went into one Lone Fire, so that means they have a Lone Fire still around. And it turns out that they were able to get out another Titanium, so the bottomless worked out perfect there. They did not Black Rose, but instead brought out Titanium, and we were able to just destroy that with the bottomless. Now they're going to have to crash here, which is like, we don't really care. That gave us a +1 essentially because they wasted a Mark of the Rose to give us 2 searches. So, excuse me. That's not ideal by our opponent at all. I'm not sure the entire play. Maybe they're just trying to poke damage. I don't know. So now we got double search. We obviously get the Mizuki and the Plague, and we have 5 cards to there too, and we're on the draw. Very unlikely we lose this game at this point. We also draw DD Crow, so we are now protected versus Debris Dragon, and we're also protected against this Amaryllis. So at this point, we have many options, and that's what makes zombies very difficult, because you can literally do as little as summon Mizuki and attack, or as much as summon Zombie Master, pitch Plague, or pitch Mizuki to bring out, a Goblin Zombie, which is what I think I do here. I do. The other option is you could actually Zombie Master, get rid of Plague, or ditch Plague to special summon Plague, and you can make Hades and actually run over this so they can't bring this back. That's also an option. What other option do we have? We could have Pitch Plague. We could have made a level 8 there with make a Synchro level 6 and then stack for Plague and make a level 8. So the way I think about this is this. They have 2 cards in hand. I can stop DD Crow. I have DD Crow. I can stop Debris Dragon if they happen to play Pot of Avarice. I don't know if this deck does. I can stop that. I can stop an Amaryllis at any given time I decide to. And all I'm taking is 800 damage right now. So what I want to do is next turn, I want to make an explosive play and use the Goblin Zombie as Synchro food with the Plague Spreader so I can get the search, so I can get the +1. So that's how I think throughout the tournaments. How can I set myself up for next turn to get a plus? Or how can I set myself up for next turn to make my opponent waste a resource? Okay, so sure, I could have done this play. I could have negated this with a Hades. And I could be sitting here with a Hades right now, but now I have Mizuki sitting in my hand, and a Plague in the graveyard, which I could summon Mizuki, of course, and then Synchro with the Plague. I would have to stack for it, and it's a lot of resources to try to get these Synchros on the field, where if I'm just patient one turn, take a little bit of damage, my next turn, my play is going to be much better. So let's see here. Of course, we attack with Goblin Zombie. We don't want to mill a card off the top of the deck there. That would be bad, because you could be milling dandelions and plants and all that. So we attack directly. Ultimately, we don't really care about Gores. It's unlikely that they play it. So they set up a monster, and of course they bring back the plant. So now we can Hades here over the face down monster, and again we can attack the Amaryllis and take another 800. We don't need a DD Crow right now. We are sitting at plenty of life. That's an option for next turn. So let's see what happens. We actually top deck a Nobleman that I side decked in 2 Noblemen. Okay, so now we have many more plays here. We could probably, they have too many monsters, but we could almost OTK here because we set ourselves up a turn. We were patient. We played it slow and we waited. So I'm sure, I kind of thought about it pretty quickly. This isn't tournament play. I don't spend all day making the best or the most optimal lines. I try to do the best I can with the time I have. I'm working, and I play a match right after work, and I kind of just play the game and I'm done. In tournament play, you really sit here and crunch the numbers, but, we could literally discard Plague Spreader for a Zombie Master, bring back Plague. We could Synchro into a Brio. We could remove Mizuki, bring back Goblin Zombie, discard another card, bring back Plague, and make a Yugioh. That would be close to game, and then we could stack for Plague and make Gaia. So we could actually win this turn, but it would require us, I don't know if we'd have enough cards to discard. To be honest with you, I'd have to do the math. But we also are going to win anyway. Maybe it's not this turn, but we're going to be in such a dominant position that we can't lose. And we're going to insulate ourselves against nonsense that they could possibly draw and Gores. So what we do here is we pitch the Plague, and we're going to make Hades here. Okay, with the Goblin Zombie, so we get a search. We're going to search ourselves Spirit Reaper. Okay, I'm pretty sure we probably could have won if I just decided to do Brio, Yugioh. I could have made the OTK here, but we're going to play a little bit slow, and the opponent sees the Nobleman, and they quit anyway. So it doesn't matter. We win that. We're going to win the next turn. We have DD Crow. We're in such a dominant position that when you have 5 more cards than your opponent, it's extremely difficult to lose. That's why you don't have to be the best when it comes to all the OTK lines. You don't have to know every single combination of everything there is to know zombies to be able to play if you play in a slow manner and collect resources. So I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't see every OTK line. There's very obscure OTKs with this deck that you can do with Doom Kaiser and all kind of random things. And I miss a lot of that stuff. But for me, sometimes I don't care enough to even look for it. I'm not even looking to make synchro plays because I'm looking to put myself in the best position that they can't even break the board no matter what. So again, last game you saw at the end there, we could have made a few different synchros and probably won that turn. Granted, if they had Gores or Tragodia, I don't know if the deck really plays it. I'm guessing they don't, but I don't know. So here we're going second, which is never good. Let's see what our opponent's hand is, just out of curiosity here. So it looks like they put in Skill Drain, which is not the best. I'm not sure if this is what this deck side decks. I have no idea. I guess it makes sense if you have a big Beast King Barbos on the board. But so again, there's the Titania. You play enough of those cards, you're gonna draw them. So let's see here. They set the Skill Drain. So what's our hand? Our hand is not that great, but we do have some cards here that can play into the lone Titanium, like D Prism. We can just make them pop it. We do have a Bottomless for another and a Torrential. So they actually draw a Dandelion, which is a really good draw for them. We're going to Torrential here because we cannot deal with with a Titanium with multiple tokens. That's just too strong. So we're okay with them. It's essentially a 1-for-1. Tokens give them, they get 2 tokens, but those are like half advantage. It's not really a true 2-card advantage, but I think that's appropriate at that point. So we don't have anything great. They foolish, and now we're getting burned. But we're going to bottomless that because we don't have time. And with this hand here, of course, I just draw a Compulse, which I also side decked in because I figured I could Compulse these back to their hand. Again, I'm not very good with this matchup. I played Amaryllis maybe twice. But the reason why we bottomless that there is because they have 2 plants. So they'd have 3 summons already, so they can deal 2,400 to us. But they also can switch this to attack position and start attacking us with this. So, and we don't really have the defense for that. Of course, we could deprison, but I feel like just bottomlessing in that situation is probably best. You can make the argument that you can keep it on the field. They may or may not attack with it, and then you hope that you use deprison and save the bottomless for a Titanial. But I chose the bottomless that there. I just didn't have a very offensive hand and was not able to clear that. So I think we're going to just summon a Diva here, and we're just going to clear tokens or try to. They flip Skill Drain, which is okay, I guess. I think Titania still will get its effect to negate if it tributes itself. So at this point, we're going to deprison. I was very surprised to see that. We draw another bottomless. So we're drawing a heavy amount of traps right now, which is actually working out in our favor because they happen to side deck in a bunch of Beast King Barbos, it seems like. So now their Skill Drain is actually killing their Debris Dragon. So this is a prime example of somebody who is flipping cards just because they know that it negates an effect. There's no reason to, like, what are you stopping? A Diva? If you know that we're playing zombies, it's unlikely that we play Spine Gilman. We've played 2 games before this, and you never saw a Spine Gilman. So it's likely Diva into Diva. And I normal summoned already. There's no zombies in the graveyard, so what am I going to mind control a token? So there's no reason to flip Skill Drain there. All you do is lose 2 tokens, and then you already had a Debris in your hand, and then you could have summoned a Debris Dragon. I would have had to Solemn the Black Rose. So I think that's just somebody playing very quickly, and and again, a lot of people do this. They see the card in their hand, they just slam it. Oh my goodness, I have a Goblin Zombie in the field. I'm just going to summon the Diva. Or I have Skill Drain. They summon an effect monster. I'm going to flip it. No real thought into that, I don't think. I think that it would have been much better to just hold it. But we're going to lose a Diva here. Not much we can do about it. So we draw a Tomato. Very good draw at this point. We have Solemn to negate anything. We can also just Compulse the Tomato back to our hand if they maybe have a Battle Trap, which it's a book. So they could have booked their own Debris Dragon there, which would have probably been good because it walls out the Mystic Tomato. They drew an MST, and Titania's sitting dead, and they set a monster here. So at this point, I'm just going to summon, and then we Nobleman, you always summon first, so they are forced to Torrential their own monster at that point, and you save the Nobleman. And so attack went through last turn. I'm thinking that there's no real, if there was Mirror Force, they would have Mirror Force last turn. No way they'd let that go through. So we're just going to swing here. We survived the Torrential in that summon, so we're swinging. We're in a pretty good position. We have 2 recruiters that actually work with Skill Drain on the board here. They're top decking. They're taking damage, and they did draw a Torrential there. So this is where this is key here. We don't summon the Tomato because they're at 4,000. Summoning Tomato will, actually, summoning Tomato is potential game. All right, is that exactly 4,000? That's 28, 38. So that would be exactly 4,000. But that means I have to fight through 3 back row. And I'm more than likely going to have to use my Solemn here if I summon this Tomato. So if I summon Tomato here, they're flipping Torrential. I am then Solemning, and then they're going to book a Moon anyway. So also, if this is Mirror Force, I am going to have to flip Solemn. If I have both of these or all three of these in attack position, I have to flip Solemn. So my thought is this: if with the monsters I have on the board here, if this card is also dead, I can attack for 14 this turn, and then next turn, let's switch this to attack position and attack for exact game, and I have a Solemn Judgment to just for security. Okay, because again, they may just try to Mirror Force here. They may not. They may wait for me next turn to try that. So I kind of play it a little bit slow here. I could have summoned this and then said I have Solemn and see if they have any response. But again, we're in a pretty dominant position. We play it slow. We wait. We have Solemn. Okay, they're drawing D prisons now. So at this point, we're at 2600. We can attack and then main phase 2 normal summon if something goes bad. We have Solemn and we have Compulse. So I could have won last turn. Sure. Well, no, I couldn't have because I would have had to summon. They would have torrentialed. I would have had a Solemn and they would have booked. So I wouldn't have won last turn, but I would have won this turn essentially. With the because they wouldn't have Book of Moon and they wouldn't have torrential, but they would have D prison. So I would win this turn. Let's see if I win this turn. Okay. Let's see what happens. So I would technically have won this turn if I summoned the Mystic Tomato into the potential torrential. So we Solemn that, and they do have the book. So we tried to game here, and we don't. So they live one extra turn by playing the way we played, okay? But they're top decking, and they now have to deal with potentially one lethal threat on the board, so they have to draw an answer here. They set, and they hope to torrential, but because we save that Mystic Tomato, we don't have to even compulse here. Okay, so we could have won last turn if we played more aggressive into 2 unknown back row, or 3 unknown back row at the time. But we waited an extra turn, we played slow, and we still won. So sometimes that just goes to show you that playing aggressive and slamming cards, sure, it works sometimes. It would have won for us in that instance. We would have won that turn. But playing a little bit slower, maybe they drew an out. You guys can make the argument for that. But playing a little bit slower, how are they beating me? They have Lila in hand. I'm bottomlessing that. I have Compulse as an answer. I have Brain Control now. How do they win? They don't win. I spend one more turn, and I potentially could have won last turn if they don't actually have book there. If they just have the D prison, I Solemn that, I win there anyway. So again, my point to this whole video is if people play the deck slower and try to grind for advantage, I think that you will win more matches. Do I lose games because I played too conservative? Yes. I've gotten OTK'd because I didn't set torrentials, and I've gotten OTK'd because I didn't do this or that. Sure, that happens. Have I lost games because I don't see an OTK line or play too slow like I just did there, where an extra turn has, my opponent draws an out? Sure, I've lost some games because of that, but I've won way more games playing in a passive manner like this and spending an extra turn to ensure that I don't play into 3 back row, and something that I'm not accounting for could OTK me or stop my play or something along those lines. So you can say it might be bad Yu-Gi-Oh, sure. And again, I'm playing this game right after work, but I just wanted to make a quick video of how I play the deck, and this is one match, so obviously you'd have to watch a lot more to really see, but with that said, I don't think there's really much more to cover in this video, so I will see you all in the next one.